Switching the microphone, please. Switch the mic. My mic sounds nice. Check one. My mic sounds nice. Check two. My mic sounds nice. Check three. Are you ready? A rock, y'all. To the beat, y'all. And keep on. And you don't stop. Rocking on. Y'all know about that old school salt and pepper right there. I like being old enough to remember when culture was in a different place. Like I think, and this isn't what we're talking about today. We're gonna get into something really deep today, because I think we're gonna try to get to the nuances of something that I think people overgeneralize and just won't say the truth about some of the stuff. We're gonna try to get at it. But I like being old enough to remember before the technological age that we're in. And the way people, like I like being old enough to remember the ability to agree to disagree, right? Because nowadays people get offended if you don't agree. Or they need to tell you, I don't always agree with you. I like being old enough to remember like older hip hop before the stuff that you hear today. And it's when you just had different perspectives on it. When you could still make music that was for fun and for dancing and all that. Unless you're one of those people that think the devil's in everything and anytime who knows? I wonder if that, you know what I'd be interested to know? Obviously, Jesus didn't promote sin that wasn't sinful. I'd be interested to know when he turned water into wine and the father of the bride was like, man, this is the best wine and we better. I wonder, was it good because it just tasted better? Like, I wonder what was good about it and how people were like, yo, this is what's going on. I wonder how people were impacted by Jesus's wine. I bet you somewhere in the world, somewhere in a small town in Italy, there's a winery called Jesus's Wine. I bet you. But anyway, that's what we're talking about today. We're going to have a crazy discussion. We're going to talk about, is this lust or is this attraction? Like, how do you really know the difference? I feel like people come up with a lot of generalizations. I think generalizations are the worst thing you can do. Like, I would rather try to be specific and practical, and I'd rather even be wrong than to give like these great generalizations, right? Because I think, this is what I think, and the Bible doesn't say what I'm about to say, but I believe this in just observing the world. I think one of the ways that the enemy affects us is through these great generalizations. That's why that phrase, the devil is in the details, right? That's why that phrase is important, because he is in the details, but he presents things in these general terms. Like love is love, right? Especially in this month, right? Love is love. It sounds like in the general, yeah, love is love. Yeah. But let's get into the details of what you actually mean by love is love. Do I agree with it in detail? That's what the enemy gives us. So today we're going to talk about, is this lust or is this attraction? And how do you know? All right. And let's be clear. The Bible warns us of lust, but it doesn't, apart from, we're going to look at this one thing that Jesus said, but it doesn't get, it does, you know what it is? Let's just be honest. Can we be honest? I know it's not Sunday, but let's be honest if you're a believer. Sometimes the Bible just doesn't make things specifically clear. Like, we want situational awareness. Is this lust or not? Because I think this person is really good looking. Is this lust? That's what we want to know, but the Bible doesn't say that. It won't tell us like if this is that or this is that. Then you got to stand before God and be like, that was that. You're wrong. You know what I mean? Like, so how do we think through these things when we're trying to deal with the reality of we live in these ultra generalizations, right? Let's just make this massive statement like boom, 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 and not realize, okay, what's in the details of it? So that's what we're going to talk about today. But first thing first, welcome to CNN. I'm Kirk Kennedy, the underdog. Let's go in. On this channel, we take no part in the unfruitful works of darkness, but instead expose them. And if you are of the Christian tradition such as I am, then you are to do this. Look at how big my hands are, boy. Bad paws. Remember the future. Right there, right there, right there. The day of the Lord is coming. Every knee will bow. Every tongue confess. We want to live in light of the future, not just in light of the past of what Jesus did, but in light of the fact that he's coming back to take those with him who believe in what he did, all right? And we are on the road to 5K. As I last checked, I'm at 32 now. I'm right just around 3,300. Y'all be hemming and hawing. People just be slow. I think I'm telling you, there are people like, no, don't make shorter videos. I am going to do a series of videos that are shorter because I think people are turned off when they see a 57-minute or hour video. Not the people who really like these videos, of course, but I want to grow the channel because I think there's some helpful things here. So I'm going to make a series of shorter videos that will maybe draw some people. I don't know. I see people's channels blowing up. You had 1.9 subscribers, and now you got 7,000 a week later. And that content, I was posting as much as you. But no, I'm not in competition. It's just funny to me to watch it. Like, wow, these people's channels grown. Anyway, all right, let's get to it. Let me tell you why we're talking about this today. Let me tell you what happened to me today. So I was at the courthouse today. I had to go pick up some documents. And so I'm at the courthouse, and I have to go to this. I found out where the area was that I had to go to pick up these documents, to go buy these documents. And when I was in there, as soon as I walk up to the door, they had this sign. Even though COVID is long overdue and is passed from 2020, there was a sign that said, "Do not walk in. Wait to be called by the customer service," whatever that is. So the guy who was there right there, he got called and he walked in. So now I'm the next in line. I'm looking through the glass door, and there's an office, and there's some people there. And I saw a very pretty woman there. She was sitting there. I think that was, maybe she was with her dad, or she was pretty. She was, a little younger, maybe late teens, early 20s, but she was still pretty. She was a pretty girl, dressed up. I thought, why is she dressed up at in a courthouse? So I was like, maybe, now that people just be wild. So I thought, man, what if that dude's trying to marry? I didn't know what was going on. I noticed she was pretty. And everyone has, to some degree, a preference of a look that is more they're drawing to them. Back in the 60s, America would say blondes have more fun because it was all about everyone wanted to be like Marilyn Monroe. And then you come into later on, and then the brunettes, then the Kim Kardashian vibe, and everyone wants to look like that. So you get this, but the reality is beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and we're going to be drawn to what we're drawn to. But we all are drawn to something, right? So this person was sort of a preference that I have physically. So I saw her, I looked at her, we looked at each other for a second, and I just looked away, I sat down, no big deal, right? But I was wondering, I wonder why they're here. It looked odd. But then I thought, why do I care? I don't even care. I'm here to get these documents. So they call my name. I walk in. And so I walk in again, and the room is big. So you look in the room. So I looked at her. She looked at me again. And then I just walked up to the front, did my stuff, and they were back there and all that, right? And it made me start thinking, I was wondering, hey, was this lust, or was I lusting after her? I'm trying to figure this out. Was I lusting after her, or was it attraction, or was it what? Because I don't think so spoiler alert, I don't think being attracted to someone is a one-to-one lust. I think the Bible describes, I was doing a photo shoot for a couple of in my church who's pregnant. My buddy and his wife's beautiful, but I don't struggle with lust towards her. She's beautiful, and she had makeup on, and she's already beautiful, and she looked even more beautiful with makeup on. But I wasn't like, oh my gosh, it wasn't. So I don't really measure, is it lust when there's people like that, because I know these people, it's easy to not do that. I try to look at what's my visceral response when I see someone that I'm attracted to. Where do I immediately go? What do I immediately think? How do I immediately feel? What do I want to immediately have? That's where I try to evaluate it more, because when I know people, it's like, no, this is my man's wife, So I was thinking, am I lusting after her or not? But anyway, I did my stuff, and then I left and got my documents and all that, and I was in the car. And then I started thinking about just dating apps. And, I have singles in my church and people. I just started thinking about just the reality of dating apps. And I remembered that Bumble is under fire. Bumble is a huge, now I'm not on dating apps, but I know I keep up with these things. Bumble is under fire because they had a campaign that was stupid. It was do you ever watch, if you're like me, do you ever watch commercials and you sit and wonder who went to a board meeting and said, we should do a commercial that has this so that people buy the product? I know I'm not the sharpest tool in the box, but I've looked at some commercials who thought that would make me buy their car? Or who thought that would make me buy those potato chips? That's a crazy commercial. So Bumble did this. Let's look at what Bumble did. Here's what Bumble has done. And this is crazy. So Bumble is currently under fire. Here's why. It says Bumble drops controversial ad poking fun at celibacy, abstinence, and the issues and apology. So down here, Bumble has apologized for its recent celibacy billboards, which face backlash for their provocative slogans against celibacy. All right. And this says Bumble has fumbled. That's good wordplay, right? These people were dropping an album next week. They're dropping a mixtape next week, whoever wrote that. Bumble has fumbled, working quickly. It's supposed to be working quickly to fix the damage. So it's interesting that this is anyway, working quickly fix the damage caused by an ad campaign that pokes fun at celibacy and abstinence as a long-term dating solution. The company apologized for the blunder on social media days after social media users began to criticize Bumble's new taglines online. People, particularly women, were quick to point out that the tone of the ads was anything but empowering, using shame to coerce women into getting back on the app, one user wrote. Bumble doing a campaign attempting to shame celibacy/abstinence is an unserious way to tell the public y'all are nervous, Cindy Noir wrote on X, formerly known as Twitter. It's also very offensive to tell your female customers that you're profiting. Oops. The enemy doesn't want y'all to read it. It's also a very offensive way to tell your female customers that you're profiting off of their legs being opened. All right. So Bumble, one of the biggest dating apps, which has lost a lot of money recently, is under fire. And because they had these billboards across the country that were, I meant to have one of the billboard pictures up so you could see it. And then so as I'm thinking about this, I'm thinking about dating apps in general, because sometimes in my church, I get asked these questions. And then sometimes I get asked questions just in general because I'm on social media. And I want to say this. Real quick, spoiler alert. I think dating apps, well, let me step back real quick. Let me give you a perspective that we have to always consider, right? 2 Corinthians 4, Paul calls Satan the god of this world, all right? That's an important reality. I think we often forget about the supernatural realities, okay? We forget about that sometimes and not realize that it says this, in 2 Corinthians 4, verse 3, and even if our gospel is veiled, it is veiled to those who are perishing. In their case, the God of this world has blinded the minds of unbelievers to keep them from seeing the light of the gospel of the glory of Christ, who is the image of God. So the God of this world, that language is talking about Satan. And so if you think about it, everything that's in the world that is not directly about honoring Christ can and is often used by the enemy, the God of this world, to distract us or desensitize us to the biblical reality. So everything from, Axe deodorant spray commercials that basically say if you wear this deodorant, if you're a man, women are going to be all over you. You're going to be guaranteed to have sex. I'm into colognes. I like cologne. I like to smell good, all that stuff. I have a lot of cologne. So when I watch colognes, you'll watch these videos like the top 10, 15 panty droppers. They'll talk like that as if, if I wear this cologne, I'm guaranteed to. So even something that's just an advertisement for deodorant spray, in its essence, is trying to get you to sin by thinking if I buy this, I'll be able to have sex, right? So that's the world we live in. So when you think about dating apps being in the world that we live in and Satan being the God of this world, I think we have to be honest about dating apps. There are two things I think we have to be honest about. Now, I don't go on dating apps, but I do a lot of research and hear what people say about them. So I don't have any accounts on a dating app. I haven't swiped right or left, but I've talked to people and I've done a lot of research on this just to kind of see. But I don't have a desire to go on a dating app. But it says dating apps are often lust generators / money suckers. Let me explain what I mean by that. Dating apps, the desire of a dating app, let me tell you what the premise of a dating app is. The premise of a dating app is, I'm about to say something that may offend some of you, and I apologize. I'm not trying to offend anyone. This is just what I think. You don't have to agree. As many of you do say, I don't agree with everything you say. This might be one of those things, all right? I don't believe in love at first sight. I think dating apps, they pride themselves on a colloquialism that I think is not true. I don't think it's a biblical mandate. I don't think Isaac, when he saw Rebecca, Isaac didn't think because she's beautiful, this is my wife, I love her. Isaac said, I pray that if she offers my horses to feed my horses, then that's the one I'm supposed to marry, right? David saw Bathsheba, thought she was being said, man, get her up here. I want his wife because she. So I think there's a notion that love at first sight is somehow a true phenomenon. All right. Now, I'm going to tell you why I don't think it's true. I think what's realistic is lust at first sight, not love at first sight. And I'm going off of the biblical definition of love, which I'll get to in just a second. All right. So I think what happens is there's this idea that love at first sight, even soulmate, but today we're not going to get into soulmates. I don't think soulmates is a biblical concept either. I think you have to work hard whether you think that's your soulmate or not. And I don't know what that means. Well, I know what people think it means, but that's a different conversation. But I think what people, when they say love at first sight, they're really thinking lust at first sight. And I think there's this premise of with the dating apps where they draw you in is this idea of you can find love here. You can find love, but you're largely going to make your decision based on the picture that you see, not the information listed. You'll consider that, but you're largely going to draw your information on do you swipe right or left based on that picture. People say, is there a connection? No. Am I attracted to you? Am I attracted to you, right? Is what they're usually saying. Or sometimes it's, am I sexually attracted to you? Because there are different levels of attraction, right? You can be attracted to a personality. There's a lot of different things you can be attracted to that doesn't have to be physical, right? So what most people are assessing, am I sexually attracted to you? Now that could be the way you look, the way you carry yourself, all of it. It can be those things, right? And this is one thing about women that I think is incredible, is they can be attracted to a man. He might not be physically attracted to a lot of people, but a woman can see something about him and be like, I'm attracted to him because of that. Men are much more, we're just too superficial. We can do that. It's possible, but men, we're too drawn to the physical sometimes, and we just make dumb decisions based on that. But this idea of love at first sight is what is the behind the scenes premise, which I think is an evil premise. I don't think it's biblical. Let me tell you why now I don't think it's biblical. I think it's more lust at first sight. Let me tell you why, because the biblical definition of love is this, all right? So this is just 1 Corinthians 13, 4 and 5. He says this. This is God's word. This is what God is telling us what love is to him and what it should be to us. It says, love is patient and kind. Love does not envy or boast. It is not arrogant or rude. It does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable or resentful. And then it goes on to say a couple of things. Love never fails. It always believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never fails, right? So that's what biblical love is. So if love at first sight, if we're using the biblical term, when you see someone that you've never met, you've never talked to, it's just attraction. You think they look good. You don't even know what their voice sounds like. You just see them and you think love at first sight. Or maybe you had a conversation, love at first sight. Biblically, if it's love, what you're saying is, I want to be patient and kind. I don't want to envy or boast. I don't want to be arrogant or rude. I don't want to insist on my own way. I don't want to be irritable or resentful. I want to believe all things, hope all things, endure all things, and and it never fail just because I saw this person and I had a conversation with them. I don't think most people are thinking like that. You see what I'm saying? If we describe things biblically, then it makes more sense to be like, that's not really love. When I look at a woman I didn't think like, oh man, I want to do all these things for her. A guy will see a girl and be like, I'd marry that just because she's pretty. A woman will see a guy and be like, wow, he's really good looking or he's hot. But they usually wouldn't be like, I'd marry that. They usually be like, well, I got to get to know who he is, how he is, right? They care about those things. How does he treat his mother? Those things, right? Guys don't care, right? So there's a sense where this idea of love at first sight is not a biblical reality. But dating apps, what they do is they play on the notion that most people think love at first sight is a true thing, but they know it's really lust at first sight. So they trap you. And here's where the dating apps are actually lust generators, because you largely make your selection based on photos. Now, there may be apps that don't show photos, and that would be great if it just went off of, I personally said this on a video before, it would be crazy to have an app where you only read the things that a person's into, and then you can agree to talk with that person, but you don't get to see them until you've had like 5 conversations with them, and then you don't see each other. That would be interesting, because then and there may be apps that do that. I made it up. I thought I made it up, and then someone told me, hey, there's a service that does that. They owe me because I'm promoting them, and I don't even know it. But there's a sense where a lot of what we think is like what we call love, and this is why I think a lot of marriages fail, a lot of things, because our view of love is not biblical. It's worldly. So it's the devil's view of love, which is lust. Lust is a strong desire. Infatuation is a strong desire. So what these apps do is they're lust generators because they want you to look at pictures. They will send you pictures of, let me tell you what this, I did research. This is I could do a whole episode on this. The hustle of dating apps is why I call them money suckers. What they'll do is they'll give you like matches that they think you would be really attracted to, right? But these people might be bots. They might not even be real people. And then they get you to get a subscription and pay for it. But here's the thing. And this is like a duh moment. And I'm not trying to make anyone feel dumb who's used these apps. I get it. We all many people want to find a romantic partner. And so you hope that you can. And some people have. I know people that met their spouses through apps. So I'm not in any way saying they don't ever work. But their design is not for you to find someone. Their design is for you to keep thinking that the app will find that person for you. And so what happens is, I think these apps, they have algorithms, right? They genuinely put you with people that they hope doesn't work out. Why? Because if you go on the app and you pay a fee monthly, and then you find someone, guess what happens after that? You leave the app. They lose your money and that person's money. Maybe in the best case scenario, you tell your friends and he tells his friends, whoever, that they met through this app, and then they join the app to imitate that. That's what Christian Harmony was banking on in Match.com back when these dating apps first really started. But for the most part, they're going to lose money. So their job is to keep you paying on the app. So to go on date after date and never really find that person, but you keep thinking I'm so close, because what's keeping you is not a desire to be patient, kind, not rude. What's keeping you is attraction. It's lust. It's he's a really good looking guy, and this guy might not even be real. They be bots sometimes. So the dating apps are really just, they're really dangerous in many ways. And I hate to say it, but they're just after your money. We live in a capitalistic society. And so if I can make money, if I can exploit your desire for intimacy and romance, I'm going to do it. And so companies create these algorithms and systems and keep people on them. And that's what Bumble, as people started figuring out, people were leaving Bumble, and Bumble lost hundreds of millions of dollars. So they came up with this stupid ad campaign mocking people who were saying, you know what, I'm just going back to being celibate. I'm not going to get on the dating apps. And they're trying to make it seem like celibacy is dumb, and then it backfired. And so Bumble will probably be wiped off, which it very well should be. I hope the Lord crushes that thing. All right. So to the original question then, how do you know, was it lust or is it attraction? Was it lust that I saw after the woman today at the courthouse, or was that attraction? Because I thought she was pretty, is that lust? Now, back in the day when I first became a Christian, I used to think if I was attracted, like I got to look away. Because to me, look, there's a certain body shape, a certain look that I'm more drawn to than others, right? So if I saw that, I would immediately think that's, I can't do it. I'm not looking. I'm looking down at the ground. And that served me for years. And when I didn't look down on the ground, I felt like, oh man, I'm lusting after this going. And it may have been, right? But over time, I've come, and I think by the grace of God, I've come to understand this a little bit more. Because I had to say things like, well, if someone is attractive to me, if that's automatically lust, then I'm doomed. Like how did obviously Jesus, Paul, so when they saw women that were physically beautiful and they thought they were, and they would agree like, yeah, she's pretty or attractive. Like, was that lust? Was it? Obviously we know Jesus didn't, but so it was like, what's the deal? Because I think in a lot of Christian circles, we want to fight hard against this. So I know we were trying to, hey, look, man, just make a covenant with your eyes. Job 31:1, I've made a covenant with my eyes to not gaze at a virgin, right? There was these Psalm 139, I've made this covenant with my eyes to not look. And so it almost gave the impression that just thinking someone is pretty, attractive or whatever, or good looking if you're a guy, if you're a girl, handsome, good looking, whatever, like that somehow that was immediately attraction. And I don't believe that is the case. Maybe you don't think that. I know a lot of us struggle with that for some time. I don't think that's biblical at all. I don't think that's the case. I don't think because someone is attractive and I think they're attractive, that's automatically lust. All right. So let's look at what Jesus said about lust. All right. Let's look at what he said first, because I think he has a helpful perspective here. Let's look at what he said and then try to unpack that so we can get the idea. All right. So let's go here. All right. Here we go. This is Jesus' Sermon on the Mount, and he says this. You have heard that it was said, you shall not commit adultery. But I say to you, everyone who looks at a woman with lustful intent has already committed adultery with her in his heart. And that's all he says about lust. Then he goes into, if your right eye causes you to sin, tear it out. What's interesting is it's connected to lust, but it's not really about lust. It's just that part. If your right eye causes you to sin, tear it out, throw it away. For it's better for you to lose one of your members than your whole body be thrown away. That's talking about the severity in which you should take this, the seriousness in which you should take what he just said was sinful, right? So he says, you have heard it said, you shall not commit adultery. But I say to you that everyone who looks at a woman with lustful intent, so when it's everyone, obviously men and women can do this. It applies both ways. It's not just men. Who look at a woman with lustful intent has already committed adultery with her in his heart. So these are Jesus's words, all right? So here's the question of the day. What is lustful intent? All right? Because he says everyone who looks at a woman, doesn't say looks at a woman that's attractive. Doesn't say looks at a woman, it's with lustful intent. I mean, you can have lustful intent without, here's what's interesting. So in Islam, women will dress up and wear, they believe that their hair is the crown of their beauty. I think they get that a little bit from 1 Corinthians 11, right? Women should wear head coverings, right? And they wear these clothes fully clothed. All you see is faces, and sometimes you might only see eyes, and you see hands, right? But women can still lust after them without seeing them. Like, lust doesn't have to even see the whole face. I mean, you can be so lustful in your heart that a prayer, some pretty knuckles can do it for you, That's why they got, there's hand models, right? There are people who are hand models that you just see their hands. Not mine. I got like these bed paws, these dinosaur paws. But like there are people that are like hand models that get paid money because their hands are so beautiful and they want people to lust after your hands. Oh my gosh. We're so doomed. We're crazy that we lust after knuckles. Like who lusts after knuckles? But anyway, all right. So they dress up, but it's possible, right? So Jesus says, if you look at a woman with lustful intent, all right? So what does lustful intent mean, all right? Well, in the actual Greek, here's the Greek word for lustful intent. Let's pull this up. Lustful intent is epithymeo in the Greek, all right? And it means to set one's heart upon, long for, covet, desire, desire to, desire, covet, eagerness for, to be desired, okay? To be desired. I think the last phrase of this is the one that is the most, I think is where lust is really there and people don't realize it, that this is lust, all right? So here's the Greek word for Jesus when he said, if you look at a woman with lustful intent, all right? So here's what I think the biblical way to think about, am I lusting or not, is that you see someone that you're attracted to. I think the biblical process first is I think what lust is that I want this person, or I want, like for me, I want this girl, or I want her to want me, all right? I want her, and I think that I want her to want me is a real serious area where I think a lot of people overlook that, right? Because you can say, well, I'm not lusting after her. Like, I'm not like imagining, like we could think, well, I'm not imagining having sex with her or anything. But I think it's, I want her to want me. Like, I want her to want me. And so, and the reason why I'm saying that, because here's the definition of the Greek word that used lustful intent. It says to set one's heart upon, to long for, covet, desire, right? Covet means I want this, I want that. Desire to, desire, covet, to be desired, right? There's another word. I want to be desired. I want this person to desire me. I want to be desired by this person, right? I think that's what it means to be lusting. So lust, I think, is I want this person or I want this person to want me. Like I want them to think I'm attractive. I wonder, are they looking at me? I wonder what they're thinking about me. Do they think I look good? Do they think the question you have to ask is, Well, why do you want them to want you? Like, why are you worried about if they think you look good or how they think you look, or are they looking at you? Are you worried about those things? I think that's when, man, my heart is given to lust. I'm coveting, I'm desiring this person beyond needing to be. Because here's the reality. This is what happened to me today. I think you can see someone attractive, but I didn't want this woman at all. I didn't want her, and I wasn't wondering if she thought I was cute. Like, did she think, old big Curdy Kurt? I got the little headband on. I'm in there kind of smooth, the dreads is out. I love it when you call me Big Papa. Throw your hands in the air. I wasn't in there like that. I was just in there chilling. I saw her, thought, oh, she's pretty. And I said, okay. Kept it moving. I walked in, and the room was wide open, so you just looked and looked at each other again, and then I walked right to the front. And I was like, all right, I need to get this document. But I wasn't like, oh man, what does she think? I wonder if she's looking at me like, how do I look? Am I presentable? I'm not. Am I there? It's like, and I'm talking about now. If you're married, of course, that's obvious. But I think even when you're single, it's like, well, do I want this person to want me? I think you can be attracted to someone, but not want them or want them to want you. I think it's like I said about my buddies. Like, there's women in my church that are beautiful. I got buddies that have beautiful wives. I don't want them or want them to want me, but I acknowledge that they're pretty. But I think when I'm out in a situation where I don't know these people, it's like, okay, she's pretty. Do I want her or do I want her to want me? That's where I think if I want this person, or want them to want me, I'm in the lust category now. I want to be desired by this person, or I desire this person. I'm in the lust category. It's not about just having sex with them. It's about, I want them to want me. Right? I want them to ask me for my phone. I want them, and don't get me wrong. You could think like, well, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? There's nothing wrong if I want to date. Yeah, but I'm not saying that you can't. But I think there's a sense of like here are two questions that you should ask yourself. Here's the two questions. You see someone that's attractive. You can't avoid it. You walk into a room, bam, there they are. Wow, they're good looking. That's just reality. To you, at least. Beauty's an eye to the beholder. Some people think they're beautiful. Some people are like, oh my gosh, no way. It's beauty's an eye to the beholder. We know that, right? Here's two questions you should ask yourself, all right? Why am I looking at this person? Why am I looking at them? Now, I went up to go get a document. The lady that was in front of me, she was cute. She was a cute lady. She was in front of me. I said, I need to get these documents. She said, okay. How many? She typed on the computer. When she saw me, she smiled at me. How you doing? Want to get this document. She does that. She says, okay. We're talking, and I was like, I wasn't thinking like, oh man, she was attractive, but it wasn't like, oh my gosh. But I think it's why am I looking at this person? Well, in that situation, I have to. There are going to be moments where you have no choice. You have to look at a person that's attractive because they're talking to you. They're, whatever it is, like, you have to. Like, you can't, maybe you're on the subway and you're trying to, and there's like, you could look away, I guess, but it's like they're just right in front of you. These things happen. There are situations where I just have no choice. But why am I looking at this person? So let's just say I was in the line and I kept looking back to see the girl. I'd have to ask myself, why am I looking back at her? Let me be clear. When I say girl, I don't mean girl like she was 12 years old. I'm just using, she's a young woman. She's probably late teens, early 20s. I just want to make that clear. You know what I'm saying? Because people be wilding right now. There's a lot of this. Pastor Kurt said Kurt Kennedy be looking at. I'm just using a euphemism for a woman. She was a young woman. She wasn't like my age or older. I could tell she was younger. But I don't know how she was. But I don't think she was like no 12. She wasn't too young. But anyway, I just want to make sure for some of y'all who be lurking in the comment section. Jeez. But anyway, I was like, okay, why am I looking back? If I'm looking back, I want to say, why am I looking back at her? Because I think she's attractive. But I already saw her, though. I already think this person's attractive. Why do I look? So then the next question is, okay, do I have to look at this person? So not only why am I looking? Well, because do I have to look at this person? Do I have to look at her? She's behind me. No, I don't. She's not beside me. She's not asking me for help. She's behind me. She could be looking at me or not. I don't know. I shouldn't care. Do I have to look at this person? I think that's the reality of the situation. I think we get into lust because we don't really, because here's the thing, and this is where I think the devil plays on us. Because in America, maybe it's all over the place, but in America, I think we think that the highest form of love is romantic, right? This is why we could use like language. It's just as like soulmates and this and that. I think we see the highest form of love as some sexual attraction. That's why sex sells. It's the highest form of love. But biblically speaking, the highest form of love is not romantic, it's sacrificial. Like Jesus didn't love the world and give his life up because he thought he was attracted to the world. He thought he wanted a romantic. No, no, no. Jesus was like the greatest form of love is sacrificial. You know, Mark 10, 45, for the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve and to give his life as a ransom for many, right? Jesus said, no greater love is this than a person lay down his life for his friends. He didn't say, no greater love is when a man loves a woman. You know, not the song, when a man loves a woman. Y'all can see why talking don't sing? But you get the drift, right? That's not what Jesus was saying. He said, when the greatest form of the highest love is when a person lays down his life, when he sacrifices. But we're convinced by the enemy to think if we're not in a romantic, loving situation, we're incomplete. This is why Paul was like, look, I wish you would be single as I am. You go to a singles ministry meeting and you teach 1 Corinthians 7, man, people will be resigning membership. People will be blown. And if you're married, they'll be like, yeah, easy for you to say, bro, because you're married. You know, you get offended. I know when I was single, I used to hate hearing married people tell me about the joys of singlehood. Yeah, it's because you're having sex tonight, fam. You're not struggling with lust because I couldn't stand it. But there was a reality about it, right? When Jesus said, look, in heaven, we'll be like angels, not married or given in marriage. Sexuality, romance, all these things are the former things that the Bible says will pass away. For the former things are passing away. This is why Paul said, I wish you were single like me, singly devoted to the Lord. That's why he said in 1 Corinthians 7, if you are married, live as though you are single. He didn't mean reject your wife, but he meant in terms of priorities, love the Lord more than your spouse. Because we love our pets, our people. We love the creature more than the creator. We love our spouses, our children, our pets more than Jesus. We'll do things for them that we won't do for Jesus. And I think that's where the Bible's like, no, that's not how it's supposed to be. Love the person who made the people, that gave you the people. Don't love the people more than the one who gave you the people, the pets or whatever it is. So I think we have to think about this. Like, I think we have to realize that I think love at first sight, I just don't think it's a helpful category. Even if I can't prove it's unbiblical, I think it's unbiblical, but I'm not trying to be a Pharisee or legalistic. I just don't think it's a helpful category because I don't think most people see someone at first sight and think, I want to be patient, kind. I don't want to envy. You know how you know you don't want to insist on your own way? Because women are going on dates and want the man to pay for the whole meal. You're insisting on certain restaurants. You're insisting on not splitting the bill, all of it, right? If you don't want to insist on your own way, then why are you irritable or resentful when he wants to go Dutch? Can we go 50-50? It's because you ordered all them shrimp and all that you thought you wasn't paying for, and then you found out he wants to split the bill. So like and here's what I mean. This is why you know it's not love at first sight. You know what preferences are? Let me just be. And I'm not saying all preferences are sinful, but you know what preferences are, right? You know what a preference is? It's my own way. It's my own way. This is my way. I want my own way. I want this preference. This is why I watch a lot of these. The dating world is just on fire because women have these preferences of just astronomical and guys don't meet them. And then guys have these preferences and it's like you just don't meet them. Every guy wants a woman who's never been with many people, but that will act crazy in the bedroom. And every woman, and I'm being overly simplistic. This is not every woman and every guy. But then I'm just using the colloquialisms. Every woman wants a guy who's 6 feet tall, who makes 6 figures and all. It's just the reality is much more complicated than that. Because for God to work out his growth in people, you're often going to learn to love this person, learn to respect, learn to submit to, learn to value these things, all of that. So I think when we're thinking about this stuff, let me say one more thing before I close. I think we have to be careful of crushes. Be careful if I have a crush on someone. I think, like, what do you mean by crush? What does crush mean? We just assume it just means I'm attracted and really want to be with this person. But what do you mean by crush? Like, I've known people that have had crushes on people that I think, biblically speaking, were just lustful idolatry. I just idolize this person so much. I want to be with this person so bad. I think about them all the time. I can't wait to see them. I think it's just lustful idolatry. I don't think a crush is like, so don't get me wrong, I'm not, you can't like someone. You got to like a person before you can get married to them and things like that, right? But I think a lot of it is just we use these, I think the devil has us believing sort of these colloquial philosophical truths that are only true to him and the world, but not true from God's perspective. I don't think love at first sight exists. I think lust at first sight does. And so these dating apps have been exploiting people. They've been exploiting the very reality that it's created, that marketing has created, that capitalism has created. Capitalism has created a market for that I think targets, exploits. I'm not a Marxist, but I'll use the language. Exploits my romantic desires, our insatiable desire to want to be loved and to love, right? So you use, and love usually doesn't mean someone patient, kind, doesn't envy. It's usually we want someone that is sexually attracted to us, and we want to be sexually attracted to that person. That's the beautiful thing about marriage. You know what I love about marriage? When you've been married for some while, you know what I love about marriage? I don't like when people do this on Facebook, but I still appreciate the words. I hate when people say, hey, babe, we've been together 25 years, and I've grown to love you. You're more beautiful to me now more than ever. I hate when people put that out on social media because I always think like, so is your wife going to read that on Facebook? Like, who was that post for? That was for us, but you guys might have a tough marriage, and so you put that out there and make it seem like you're a loving husband. I don't know. I just don't know what it's out there for. I've never put my stuff out there that if it's to my wife or to my children or people I just don't do that. I just think it's weird, but I'm not, who am I? I'm nobody, right? You do whatever you want. I think it's weird, but I love this language. You are more beautiful to me now than when we first met, when we first got married. When most men or most women say that, I don't think what they mean is you are physically more attractive now than the day I met you. I don't think that's what they mean. Maybe in some cases they do. When you hear people that have been married for some time say that, what they mean is we've been through some things together. We've stood together. We fought against the pressure of getting a divorce. We've been through some things together. You've seen me in my worst. I've seen you in your worst, and I loved you despite that. Because of that, you are way more beautiful to me now than you were before I had these experiences with you. See, when you marry, you largely marry physical attraction and what you hope to be. But you spend some time with that person and you go through some things, now you've lived it. Because here's what happens. Everyone who's married knows this, and people who are not married don't. Because you believe the cultural love at first sight or love it, this person's your soulmate, that you're always, and we think infatuation is love. Infatuation is just lust, sexual anticipation. It's not love, because love is a verb. Love isn't an emotion. It's a commitment to do, to serve, to not, to be patient, it's all these other things, right? But when you're not married, you think that the infatuation is going to carry you through. And the next thing you know, a year or two into it, you don't have butterflies anymore. Remember when you were dating and you couldn't wait to see that person, man? You couldn't wait all day. You were waiting for, in the modern era, you're waiting for a text. If you see them 3 dots there, you're like, man, hurry up. Like, what are you trying to, you just can't wait to see him. You can't wait to get off work. But when you get married, after, a year or two, a couple years go by, you don't have those butterflies anymore. Sex is just a normal part of your relationship. It's not like it's just like, oh, this is just what we do. I'm not like, and you can go all day without talking to your spouse before you get like, some people talk multiple times a day, but you can go like, okay, I'm working, and then I didn't talk to my spouse until I got home. You're like, oh my gosh, what is it? No, because you realize when you get married that love is different than lust. Lust may draw you to a person. Attraction may make you want this person, desire this person, but it doesn't keep you. That's why supermodels get divorced. That's why beautiful singers, beautiful entertainers, the best looking people in the world, they get divorced because that the attraction doesn't keep them. The infatuation, the lust, you watch these romantic comedies and you just be seeing these people coming in, ripping each other's clothes off, trying to do all that just so they can, but none of them think about, hey, who's going to clean up all the stuff that we just knocked down when we're done? That's what I think about. Like, man, who's going to clean all that up? You be like, man, you got to clean up all that cereal, fam. There's a lot of cereal. You know we got a dog and he's going to lick all that up. What you doing, man? But in these movies we watch, it's the slow motion, it's the look, the music's in the background. These people are actors. They got failed marriages and different stuff in real life. They don't even like, they're, and when we watch it, it's like, oh my gosh, look at this. And then we get drawn in and we think that's how it's supposed to be. But none of that stuff is loving. It's infatuation. It's acting. It's not real. And we just get drawn into this economy of the enemy's definition of love and commitment and intimacy. And when you get married and you go through something, you wake up at 3 a.m., you see that woman without no makeup on. That woman sees that when you get that dad bod. She sees that when you fought in the bed at 3, like, babe, you all that stuff, that's real. That's anybody that's been married. That's real. When he's sitting there, when you dating, you be on your best behavior. You be holding it like, oh man, I don't want to do it. Man, when you be married, man, husbands be waiting to pass. Gotta be, sweetie, and he'd be laughing. No, he's not trying to roll the windows down. You don't care because things change. You don't burp in front of her when you're dating, but shoot, a year or two in, babe, that's gross. It's like, oh, sorry, because it's different. Love is different. It's a commitment, and so I just think when you get married, in fact the emotional side of love is not what sustains you. It's the committal side. You realize, oh wow, how I feel about this person is deeper than the infatuation I felt when I married them. It's much deeper. Like I actually I've been in situations where I could not like this person, but I still do. I chose to love. Like love is a choice to be. Let's probably it's a choice to be patient, to be kind, to not envy or boast. It's a choice to not be arrogant or rude. It's a choice to not insist on your own way. Love is a choice not to be irritable or resentful. It's not when I see someone, I'm choosing these things. It's I am sexually or I'm some kind of attracted to this person, and I think we just have to be careful. So I'm not trying to, anyone who's on dating apps, I'm not trying to shoot you in the foot. I just think you got to see it for what it is. Eat the meat, spill out the bones. I'm not saying get off if you feel like I won't meet anyone if I'm not, but just understand that their desire is not to let you find a match because they want you to stay on the app. But in terms of is this lust or attraction, I think we have to be careful. I don't think attraction means lust. I think we have to think of it like, okay, I want this person or I want them to want me. And if I'm looking at them, why am I looking at this person? And do I have to look at this person? So I saw, I'm walking out of the courthouse. I saw someone that I thought she was pretty, and I could have just kept looking at her because she's pretty, maybe. I looked at her and I just looked away. And then there was a desire to look again. And I was like, why? But do I have to look at her again? Like she was okay. She was pretty. Do I have to look at her again? I don't have to. If I want to, if I do it, then I have to like, why am I looking at her like this? Why am I looking at her again? That's what you want to do. So hopefully this is helpful. This is one of those categories. It can be all over the place. Sometimes when you try to be specific and help people, it backfires because of, everyone has a scenario like, well, is this? It just doesn't, I think you need to think in terms of bigger categories, like these kinds of questions. Why am I looking? Why do I, what does lustful intent mean? I think we have to think about those things and not just look for because the Bible is not like it's not a manual that it has an answer. You can't be like, okay, so this person said this to me. I was attracted. I blushed a little bit. I felt this. I don't think it doesn't work like that. And so we largely stay away from this kind of stuff because of all of those things. But I don't think it's as complicated. I can look at someone and be attracted to them. And if I don't want them or want them to want me, I'm not even worried about lust. It is what it is. There are going to be people that look good. The Bible talks about Job's daughters were the most beautiful. The Bible emphasizes beauty for a reason. That's God's word. He wanted you to know this woman was beautiful. She wanted you to know that she was beautiful. The Bathsheba was beautiful. He wanted you to know that. She was okay. So God creates beauty, but He creates beauty not so that we can, want to desire it or be desired by it in and of itself, but just because it just is what it is. God's a God of beauty, and He creates that. So, all right. Hopefully that's helpful. Let's go to the tape. All right. Looking forward to it, brother. I always get a lot of insight from his talks. Thank you, bro. I appreciate that. Thank you. And I've had your new album repeat for that solid record, bro, with deep hits fire. My man John, appreciate you, bro. The album that he's talking about, just so y'all know, don't play with me. I'm telling you, man. He's talking about this joint right here. It's everywhere. I'm warning you, do not listen to this album. If you listen, you'll understand what I mean by do not listen to this album. But I rap. Don't think because I'm a pastor or because I'm a YouTuber to some degree that I'm not. Two things can be true at once. I am a pastor. I'm a YouTuber, but I rap, right? So go check the album out. I think you'll enjoy it. They got some good songs on there for a lot of people. All right. What up, Kurt Ivan? What's good, baby? What's good? This is my birthday month. I'm so sick of the LGTV agenda. I tell you what, man, them TVs get on my nerves too, bro. Especially because it has a glare on the side and you can't always. No, I'm just kidding. I know what you mean, bro. They can have it, send it, send God. No longer them have. This is the month that God called you. God called you to be born in this month before the enemy co-opted it. Enjoy your month, man. Your birthday has nothing to do with them. Your birthday has to do with God calling you, right? So, AT, thank you, brother. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. It's Bobby Brown right there, ladies and gentlemen. No, I'm just playing with you, AT, but I appreciate you, man. Shoes can lead to lust. Oh, yeah. People have foot fetishes, right? Or feet. 100% people have foot fetishes. Thank God I'm married and not on these apps. I just hear about them from a couple unsaved friends that are on them. Sounds like, bro, I had the same thing. I feel like it's a nightmare, bro. When I hear these things, I just think like, oh my gosh, this is a nightmare, man. I think the culture in and of itself is just a nightmare when it comes to just romance because I think there's so much confusion. A lot of us, a lot of Christians don't think like books like Song of Solomon is in the Bible. Song of Solomon was a book that God had written, that's inspired word of God about how to think about your spouse when you're married. I don't ever hear teaching on Song of Solomon. I'm sure somebody does it, but I think that's real, man. I think that stuff is no joke, brother. So I'm good. Appreciate that. Don, thank you, Don. Good teaching. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. Jose. Super chat, my dude, my dog. $4.99. Order of salvation, great topic. You want to get into that order of salutis. You want to get into that. You know what I'm saying? Order of salvation, order of salutis. He wants to get into that. You know what I'm saying? To election, gospel call, regeneration. Depends on where you're from. There's a lot of that stuff, but maybe we'll do that sometime. All right, man, brother, I missed you today. Did you like Cross Movement? I will listen to the rebroadcast. I didn't like. I did, but I didn't. I think I liked Ambassador. I liked Deuce when I heard them. I thought he was the most talented of the group. So I didn't, but I wasn't a big Cross Movement follower. Like I wasn't a fan of them the way other people were, but I respected them. I respect, you know what I respect? I respect hustle because I'm a dude from the streets. I understand what hustle means. I understand what grind means. So I respect hustle. I respect grind. And I thought they grinded and hustled to help make Christian rap or Christian hip hop, whatever you want to call it, CHA. They helped make it a palatable platform for people like myself and others to use. So, and that will always get respect. Always get respect. But I wouldn't say no. I didn't have all their albums and when things happen to the members of the group, I wasn't crushed because I so looked up to them. And that could be partially because I'm not that kind of person. Like where I'm from, just respect is earned. It's not easily given. So I just don't. And if everybody loves someone, my default is to not. So this could be just my own pride for real. But no, they were decent dudes, man. They were decent. Caught the live late. Going to watch the replay of the dinner. Your content been a blessing. Soldier Lee, thank you. No, Soldier J, thank you. Appreciate that. I try to. All right. And yep, CM was the best group out back in the day. Yeah, they were tough, man. Back when they came out, like late 80, 98, 99, I think if you were into rap and hip hop and you heard them, you had to be like, oh, because you always think when it's for Jesus it's corny. So when you hear dudes that can spit over beats that you like and they're talking about, it's like, whoa, that's crazy. You know what I'm saying? Give Me That by Ambassador is one of my faves. That's a good joint. My favorite joint from Ambassador is that It's On Right Now. Kingdom People, it's on right now. Just thinking because it's on right now. When the bigger it's all right now, people get rich. When I was with Deuce a little while ago, I was singing that joint to him, messing with him. Ambassador. I was messing with him because I was my favorite joint. He was like, "What is it?" He said, "Oh yeah." I said, "Man, that had like that Disney sample, that ding ding ding." I was messing with him. It's all right now, people. Yeah. That was my joint from him. So that was what's up. Do you like Corey Red and Precise? Yeah, they have some joints, man. They have some joints. Corey Red and Precise has some joints. So when I came into CHH, it was 2005. I didn't know this world existed, right? My man, Apologist from Christ Centric, we knew each other. Apologist, Evangel, we knew each other before we were believers. They knew me when I was in the streets. And so they put me, when I came out, I was just doing an album. I was a part of a white suburban middle to upper class family of churches. And so I was doing an album that I knew those churches. So it was it wasn't what East Coast hip hop. It was more like a live instrument, almost like a Linkin Park vibe without, my vocals weren't as hard because I thought, oh, I got to leave that aggression for my past life. I didn't realize you could be like spit and do. So I was like rapping like real basic, like, hey, so then after I dropped the album, Apologist, my man Will, he introduced me to Holy Culture Radio. And that's when I was like, hold on. But I had already dropped my album, so I was blown because my album, it's called Progression. It's actually still on iTunes. It was 2005. My name was Voice back then. And I was like, oh man, I had switched my style. I basically tried to rap for middle class, upper class white people to try to get them to understand and be able to track what I was saying. So I didn't even know all that stuff existed. So it is what it is. Pastor Kurt, thank you, Faith Fire. I like Faith Fire. You need to put that on a t-shirt. That's what I'm talking about, Faith Fire. Oh yeah, right. On Human Emergency, that's right. I think that's a joint where they look like doctors on the joint or something. I remember that joint. They look like doctors on the front cover. Thank gosh, my body count is 0. Well said. Amen to that. Get married and make it 1. Make it 1. Evangel, that's my dude. Yeah, man. Evangel, to me, I still think is probably in my top 5. Well, I'd say, it's probably too bold. Top 20 pound for pound. Top 20, not Christian rap, just top 20. I think Evangel's in my top 20 MCs. He kind of reminds me of, man, I was thinking about this dude yesterday. I cannot believe I'm forgetting his name. Dude from the Bronx, black dude that got killed. High-pitched voice like Evangel. I used to be with like Showbiz and AG and them. I cannot believe I'm forgetting his name. Someone in the chat, please tell me who I'm talking about. He died, but he was real punchline heavy, had a high-pitched voice, just like, I cannot remember. I had to struggle yesterday. I was trying to remember this dude's name, and I could not remember. I'm ashamed because I know his name is the tip of my tongue. This is what happens when you start getting older. Stuff just be right there. It be playing with you. Like, yeah, it's right there. Keep thinking. And then it just runs off. But anyway, that was their best. Okay, that's what's up. I didn't know that. But all right, man, I appreciate y'all. Go back, like and subscribe to the channel. Let's get me to 33. Let's get to 5K. It's not even just me. We do it together because you watch these joints. You benefit from it. So thank you for the super chat, Jose. I appreciate you. And we'll keep it going. Hold on, let me see this real quick. Evangelical has one of the best discs. Oh, yeah. But not right. Yeah, Holy Are You. Evangel did Holy Are You towards Rakim, who basically was saying that he was God and all that. Yeah, that joint was tough. I wasn't D-Boy. Big L. Yes, thank you, Lord. I mean, I was thinking, like, what is it? It's Big L. I think Evangel kind of had Big L's, like they kind of had that same high-pitched voice. I actually preferred Evangel over Big L, but a lot of people thought Big L was a monster, but he got murdered. Dude from the Bronx. I think he was from South Bronx. But all right, I'm getting out of here. Appreciate y'all, man. I will see y'all tomorrow for something else, something fresh. Like and subscribe to the channel. Let's get it popping. All right. Peace, y'all. Grace and peace.